Alrighty, welcome to Season 19 of VBLS. This is our first season on Pokemon Champions. This is Regulation MA, so just the first format of the game. You got your Megas in here, not all the new ones from ZA, which is a shame, but we're making do with what we got. It's a pretty small format, like 270 guys, and they're all fully evolved, which is a pretty big difference compared to a lot of the stuff we've done in the past, so... before we get started and talk about how the draft went, do a quick little overview of some of the details of the format, why don't we? Looking at type breakdown, it's actually pretty different than a lot of the formats we've seen in the past, and I don't know if this is due to not having as many of the weak early game guys and their full evolutionary lines, but pretty interesting type breakdown here. We do see water is still the most common, as always, but then fire is number 2, which is usually a below average type in terms of population. It's pretty rare. Usually you see grass number 2 and then normal if they're pretty high as well, but just a couple odd changes there. Grass is a lot lower than it typically is, so the big thing we want to look at here are what the rarest types are to kind of prioritize what we're going to want to be picking up. We do see bug is the rarest of all because, you know, there's a lot of weak, bad, useless bugs that they didn't bother putting in this first format, but that's not that important. We're not going to worry about bugs. The most important rare-ish type that I want to talk about is ground, actually. I think it's 22 ground types that are fully evolved in this format, and honestly, a lot of them are kind of leaving a lot to be desired, so... over the course of this draft, you're going to want to prioritize... If you do your own kind of Regulation MA draft, what I think you should do is prioritize getting a good ground, getting some good speed control, and getting yourself a nice offensive fairy. So let's talk about the draft. Actually, let's not do that yet. Let's talk about the stat breakdowns. Again, pretty typical stuff here. We do see an interesting thing for the first time where our median special attack and physical attack are both 92. So you can run either Spear Tomb or Abomasnow, and that's like right in the middle of the pack for both of those. Your average defensive mon is going to be on the physical side about as bulky as Altaria, on the special side about as bulky as Mimikyu. And again, look at that. The median is 85 on both sides. That almost makes me wonder if that was intentional. Probably not, but the stats are evenly broken down between physical and special, so that's the first time that's ever happened before. Typically, and even when you look at the format overall and at a first glance, people always talk about how the Champions format is so physically biased, but the numbers don't really work out that way. It's just a matter of what actually synergizes with each other that tends to be physically biased. So will that hold up in draft? We will see, I guess. And for speed, again, base 80. Pretty standard stuff here. So now, without further ado, let's talk about the draft. For my first pick, I went with Mega Aerodactyl. Now, before we go any further, the stats we have on the top left there, it's stat percentiles. So, for example, his Aerodactyl is in the 100th percentile for speed, meaning it's the fastest mon in the format. As long as you're not using priority, or I guess even if you are using priority, as long as you're in the same priority bracket as Aerodactyl, it's outspeeding you 100% of the time, unless you have Choice Scarf. But anywho, that's what those mean up there. I think it puts into a better perspective of how it ranks compared to the other things you'd see in a format, which I think for the purpose of this review is a little more interesting. So, why did I go with a Mega Aerodactyl? It offers something that nothing else in the format does, which is just its fat 150 speed stat. As the fastest good mon in the format, I mean, it ties with Mega Alakazam, but I don't think anybody drafted that in either conference. Having that much speed inherently offers a lot to any team. It's the fastest non-priority Tailwind, the fastest Rock Slide user, and it has a Tough Claws boosted dual wing beat, so it actually has an elusive form of flying stab, which is another thing that was pretty rare in this format. I think only a couple guys learned Brave Bird, and beyond that, Tough Claws dual wing beat is about as good as you're going to get. This guy also has a lot of other options too. We have Taunt, Wide Guard, Phasing, a bunch of random coverage moves that actually end up doing pretty decent damage with a Tough Claws boost and 135 attack. On ladder, I've seen this guy run Ice Fang to explode Garchomp, so you got to be careful if you have a little sneaky 4x weakness that Aerodactyl would hit and just blow you up right away. But honestly, that stuff is only good because of that speed stat. That 150 is what really matters. And to put into perspective, 150 is just ludicrously fast The only things I actually need to be running a speed boosting nature for are Dragapult and 6 Mega Evolutions. And of all those guys, only one is in my division, and it's Mega Delphox, so not really particularly worried about that one. So how do you beat a guy that's this fast, this incredibly fast? Well, you gotta run your Choice Scarf, you gotta bring your Fake Outs, but you gotta already have a decent bit of speed to outspeed even with a Choice Scarf. You need to be at least 84 base speed and full investment to have a chance about running a Mega Aerodactyl. And for your Fake Out, you better hope you have a fast one, because later on in the draft, we'll see that I may or may not have my own fast Fake Out with 105 speed. So what's faster than 105 speed with Fake Out? Well, there's only 7 faster than that in the format, and again, only one of them is in my division. It's Infernape. And honestly, one of the coolest things about this mon is that you don't even need to Mega Evolve it. If you're in a particular matchup where you don't need the extra speed and you don't think you need the extra attacking power or the little bit of extra bulk that you get, and you would rather use Unnerve as your ability, then you can just go ahead and keep it regular Aerodactyl. Still a very viable mon. They're both worth the same amount of points on the draft board. Just keep it regular Aerodactyl, click your Tailwind, click your Rock Slide, click Protect, because a lot of the times Unnerve is actually going to be a better ability than Tough Claws, which is crazy to say because Tough Claws is awesome. But in this format, with how few items there are, and the fact that we're not in a Terra metagame for the first time in like 4 years in our league, I am very much expecting to see Resist Berries like every single week, like 2 or 3 of them at least. So there might be times where the better play is not Mega Evolving and trying to kill things. It might just be staying regular Aerodactyl, protecting, and letting your teammate hit through a Resist Berry that they normally wouldn't be able to break through. Mega Aerodactyl isn't really the flashiest guy around. It's one of the original Mega Evolutions all the way back from X and Y, so it's been around the block, but this is the best it's ever been, so I'm really excited to take advantage of it, because it just does a lot of offensive and support output just by clicking Rock Slide, so anything else on top of that is just kind of a bonus. Pairing something with Aerodactyl seems kind of easy, right? You got a super fast Tailwind guy, so you're going to want a big, powerful spread attacker to take advantage of that speed boost right away. There's 2 things on my mind. I really wanted a powerful Earthquaker, namely Mamoswine, because pairing a strong Earthquake with a flying type seems like just a good plan there. There's never been a more perfect pair between those 2. But when the draft came back to me, I was looking at the board and I was ready to pick Mamoswine, but I noticed there was a mon that was conspicuously still on the board that I did not expect to make it back to me. And I knew there was no way it was going to make it back to me in round 3. So I thought about it, I put the Mammoth off for another round to pick up the best non-Mega Fairy type on the board, Sylveon. Fairy types aren't nearly as rare this season as they've been in the last couple seasons, but what they make up for in quantity, they definitely kind of lack in quality. So Sylveon's definitely the best around. It's a pretty straightforward mon, honestly. It's just a big special attacking Fairy type with Pixelate boosted moves. You got your Hyper Voice, you got your Hyper Beam, you got your Quick Attack. Maybe you run Yawn, maybe you run Shadow Ball, but Sylveon just spams Fairy moves incredibly hard, and it's at a good speed tier to take advantage of Tailwind and Trick Room. Base 60 is kind of a pretty good spot for that. So it's nothing too flashy. Everybody knows what Sylveon does. It didn't get anything crazy new in Champions. I think it has Mystical Fire now, but I don't know if it had that before, because I don't think I've actually ever used this mon before in draft. But Sylveon's strengths pretty obvious. You click Hyper Voice until they bleed. So when the draft finally came back to me, I was ready to pick Mamoswine. I had the GIF loaded up in the Discord. I was ready to send it, and then it got sniped. So I had to quickly reevaluate and figure out which ground type I wanted, because honestly, with how few there were on the board, most of the good ones are already gone. I was debating between 3 main options, the first 2 of which I didn't end up picking, but they were Mega Garchomp and oops, gave it away. I was considering Mega Garchomp and Hippowdon. Mega Garchomp is pretty cool, another mon that can function like Aerodactyl without having to Mega, but not being able to run a Yachtberry is pretty unfortunate. And Hippowdon is just a little bit too slow, and I didn't necessarily want to sand chip my entire team away the whole time, so I went with Crocodile. It's a decently fast ground mon that not only clicks Earthquake real good, it can also click Knockoff to get rid of items, and there's going to be a lot of items we got to be removing this format. Lots of berries, lots of not fun stuff like that. And it comes with a free Intimidate. Sign me up.
Intimidator? I hardly know her.
Crocodile's a mon that I've always been a big fan of. I tried to use it back in Sword and Shield on the ladder. I remember going to Oak's lab and submitting like a bunch of different crocodiles because I kept thinking there was a secret set that no one had discovered that was going to break the meta. It didn't, but this isn't Sword and Shield. This is Draft League. Anything can work here. It's got a surprisingly deep move pool, honestly. Has a bunch of good support options, a bunch of weird random attacks that are pretty high powered that you can use as a nice coverage move. And it's so flexible. I think it's going to be pretty fun to use. It's like I said, it's got a bunch of good moves that complement the pretty mandatory knockoff plus knockoff plus ground move of choice. It's got Snarl, Taunt, Breaking Swipe, all sorts of fun stuff. And if you don't want to run Intimidate, if you're facing a team with a lot of special attackers, hey, you got Moxie, which is a pretty decent ability too. Scarf Moxie with Earthquake next to Aerodactyl or something else not affected by ground moves, spamming Helping Hand sounds pretty good to me. So after snagging Crocodile and Sylveon, I felt like I had a pretty solid offensive spread duo combined there. We got the nice fairy spread, we got the nice ground spread. They work super well in the late game to clean things up together, and I kind of wanted to find some more guys on the board that didn't feel like the JV squad, because I was looking at a lot of lower tier guys to try to get some value, but I figured I want to get some more actually good mons. And I started looking at the water weakness that I've been accumulating across my first couple picks. But after some more thought and just realizing how many waters and grasses are left on the board, I figured I could probably cover that hole eventually. So, without scouring for everything that resisted water, I could kind of expand my horizons a little bit. I saw another mon that I've been wanting to try out for a while, and I figured I might as well give it a shot. Sitting at 11 points, we had the mon with the widest move pool in Champions, and a super high attack stat, and a crazy 50% boosting ability. That sounds like a steal to me. Gallade for 11 points is a total value crime. This thing checks so many boxes on my little draft helper over there. With a move pool that big, it's going to be tough picking just 4 moves each week. And that's already not even considering the fact that Sacred Sword is probably going to be one of those moves. It's like the most consistent move in the game. It's 135 base power, goes through any boosts, 100% accurate. I don't know if it makes contact or not. It probably does. But either way, crazy good, consistent move. Fighting is always a good type. And not only that, you have that nice sharpness boosted Sacred Sword. You have a sharpness boosted Psycho Cut. It actually makes it feel like there's a single source of psychic physical damage. I know Veluza had that last season, but go check out my last season record for how that went. But even beyond its big dumb moves, Gallade has a lot of other stuff, and not just the little not just the utility options I have down here. It gets a humongous amount of coverage moves, and guess what? A lot of them are sharpness boosted. So I go from having a 90 power Leaf Blade if I need it to 135. That's basically stab. So Gallade is super dangerous and very, very unpredictable. It's almost like Iron Valiant. Huh, isn't that a coincidence? Looking by the end of the season, I would expect to see Gallade having the most varied move pool of all my mons, and that's considering that one of those moves is probably going to be Sacred Sword every single week. Okay, pick 5. At this point, I really needed to start thinking about picking up a water resist. Some of the grasses that I was considering had already gone. So I felt like I just really needed to lock in and get a solid answer to water types. So this mon is another one that I've was also pretty sure would have been snagged by now. A very value pick, so I figured I had to go for it. Araquanid has a lot more in common with Azumarill than I initially thought it did. And I love Azumarill, so I'm happy to try its insectoid brethren. I guess it is an insect. It has 6 legs, not insectoid, just straight up insect. What are these two in common? What do they have in common? Well, they start with the letter A, so there's that. And they're both water types with a very synergistic secondary typing. Look at that. They got a crazy main ability that doubles their offensive output. They have another ability that can kind of be run on weirdo defensive sets that probably are only viable in Terra generations, but you know, you can try it. You can still do what do you call Sap Sipper Azumarill, or I guess you could run Water Absorber Araquanid. But what Azumarill has in offense with its other stab type and setup and priority, Araquanid, I'm going to have a hard time saying that over the season. Araquanid makes up for with a better Trick Room speed tier, more utility moves, and some extra little bonus effects on its primary ability. It's not just a 2x on water, it's also a burn immunity, and it's also a fire resistance. How nice is that? So if you want to do some math, Araquanid's liquidation is doing about as much damage as Mega for Alligators, who has 90 more points in his attack. And that's even before you give Araquanid a Mystic Water. So once you do, it's even stronger than that, which is kind of crazy for an only 10-point guy. Araquanid basically is here to deal humongous water damage, patch up my type chart, and also kind of stick around, do some silly little supporting things. We got the Icy Wind, we got the Wide Guard. It's a lot of stuff that it can do for 10 points. So I'm looking forward to using this guy. Very powerful threat. I've lost to it in the past. Okay, pick 6 was just a fun pick time. Looking back on it, I probably could have left this for a lot later, considering in the other conference it was picked literally the last round of, I think, Prime Sparks' team. If I hadn't made this pick now, it's entirely possible that nobody in either conference would get to learn the value of Slowbro with a gun. Should Slowbro with a gun have been a round 6 pick? I don't know, but it's the world we live in. Glowbro is a really unique mod, and when I say unique, it's not just a code word for bad. It's got a really valuable typing with a huge move pool, tons of coverage, and a good bit of utility options. It's not as bulky as regular Slowbro, it's the frailest of all of the slow family. It does have something any slow mon would kill for. What if I told you that 44% of the time, you move first every time? Buckle up, partner, because this Vaquero is quick on the draw. Stacking quick draw and click... Holy mama, that's hard to say. Stacking quick draw and quick claw, an item that nothing else is going to be using, so that's, hooray, less item competition. You get a slightly worse than coin flip chance to just ignore speed entirely and just shoot him first. And when I say shoot, I mean it. Glowbro has the coolest signature move of all time, in which Slowbro opens up the damage calc, then decides if it'd be better to shoot you with his gun or pistol whip you. And it can poison you too, just for shits and giggles. Honestly, with what I've said so far, you shouldn't be asking, oh, why did you draft Slowbro? You should be asking, how can you get your hands on it? To which I say, better luck next season. So at this point, I'm already 6 picks into the draft. My type chart is looking a little bit weird. I'm missing a lot of good defensive type options, and the mons left to fill them out are all disappearing really fast. At this point, I was looking for grass types, fire types, dragons, and steels. I knew I wanted at least one of those guys each for their hit-taking abilities. Every couple of years, I think I have to relearn the lesson that the type chart is important after all, and having 3 normal types on your team and having to bring all of them to a match is not so fun. Come to think of it, the 2 seasons where I drafted triple normal, I didn't make playoffs, so maybe that tells you something. So either way, I'm looking for a fire type this round, because at this point there's a lot of the other 3 types left, but not as many good fires. After talking with more people than was probably necessary to make this decision, I finally decided on much more than just a fire type. So remember how I said that there's 2 ways to beat Aerodactyl, being Fake Out and Choice Scarf? Well, Hisuian Typhlosion, apologies for the really shitty gif, there's not many available for him. Hisuian Typhlosion takes care of both of those right on the lead. A fire ghost type with Frisk is such an amazing combination of traits, especially in draft. And when you pair it with Aerodactyl, it's just like the perfect synergy. On lead, I can instantly know which of their mons, if any, can outspeed Aerodactyl thanks to Frisk. And if they decide to go for the Fake Out, Aerodactyl can just safely protect that turn without worrying about them calling arrows, protect, and targeting the partner slot. And if Typhlosion runs a Choice Scarf itself, then it can get right to click an Eruption, safely knowing which mons can outspeed and which it can't. The Ghost type here on this guy is kind of ancillary, mainly just protecting it from Fake Out and letting the Fire type offense go off without a hitch. Its defenses are not really what I wanted in my Fire type, but thankfully Fire Ghost, when you look at the typing chart, it's actually one of the most solid defensive types out there. It has a huge amount of resistances and 2 immunities thanks to Ghost type, so I can definitely leverage that to kind of get a clean switch in, survive a hit that maybe someone else on my team wouldn't be able to. And I don't have to click just Eruption. There's other moves this guy learns. We have the Heat Wave, we have Overheat. I think this guy gets Burn Up too, which is pretty cool, but don't run that on a Scarf set. But yeah, Hisuian Typhlosion's done a lot of good stuff in the past, and I've been a noted Typhlosion hater, so this is my kind of a redemption pick for me and Typhlosion to repair our relationship. So pick 8. This is a really difficult one for me. I was still working on my defensive cores, and I knew I wanted this to be the start of a solid 2-part defensive core, and there were 2 routes I saw myself going with this. I could either go with Mega Venusaur and Goodra, or Mega Aggron and Appleton. I wanted the secondary Mega that was bulkier and could pair well with Mega Aerodactyl, and then I wanted a good Dragon type, and I wanted to get my Grass type somewhere in that combination. So, after some discussion, I decided I was going to go with the Mega Venusaur and Goodra route. This meant giving up a good Steel type like Mega Aggron, but there were some budget options that could come instead, looking at like maybe a Steelix or even Gunfisk. So then looking at between Goodra and Mega Venusaur, I had to figure out which to pick first. Mega Venusaur is obviously the hotter ticket item, but if I didn't get Goodra, there was nothing else on the board that could do what Goodra can do. So if I went Mega Venusaur first and then got sniped on Goodra, I couldn't back pivot to Aggron, as I wouldn't have enough points left on the board. I didn't want to stack even more defensive grasses that can be dealt with similarly. I didn't want Mega Venusaur and Appleton. I know they don't share that many weaknesses, it's just the flying one, but still. So I ended up deciding to go to Goodra, because if I did pick Goodra, I could pivot back to Aggron and just make a couple other adjustments down the road. So this made the most sense to me, so I went with Goodra for round 8. And on the board, Goodra might just be the most mon per point you can find. Mono Dragon with a good special attack stat and the highest special defense bulk in the game is pretty schnazzy for 6 points. It's also pretty fast. I thought this was base 60, but I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the other Goodra with the big shell. So that was a nice little surprise for me. Goodra has the speed to make use of its really big move pool. Not too many outright support moves, but it has a lot of attacks that kind of double as that. Breaking Swipe, Acid Spray, just to name a few. Now, I had secured part 1 of my defensive core, and the only thing I had left to do was pick up the second half. I had Goodra locked down. All I needed to do was pick up Mega Venusaur next, which didn't happen because Queer Crocodile snagged it from me, which I knew was a possibility, but it still really hurt when I saw that notification come up on my phone. So at this point, I knew things were going to be okay. I could do Aggron next. I could still do my pivot, but at this point, looking at the board, even though I was supposedly sure that nobody was going to pick Mega Venusaur, I was really sure this time that nobody was going to pick Mega Aggron. There weren't enough people with the points left and need for a Steel type that made me worry about it particularly. So, looking at other things I needed for cheap, I wanted to kind of combine a fast fake out, encore, and a couple other support moves in one. So, looking at the board, I snagged another super value mon with the 1-pointer Lopunny. Don't ask me why this is the gift for Lopunny. I'd recommend you not search for them on your work computer. Lopunny, what does it do? Hey, it's a runner-up from last season, and I think it also won another season at some point. But this guy has a lot of support moves. You got, look at all the little brown bunnies down there. You got Fake Out, Phasing, Priority, Encore, Paralysis. Oh my goodness, there's so many options. Unfortunately, you can't do the fun Klutz Assault Vest trick stuff because Assault Vest is in the game, but Lopunny can do a lot of fun stuff, and I think it'll be just a solid 1-pointer that'll actually probably show up to a couple games here and there. At this point, I realized there were no teams left that could afford either of the 2 mons that I wanted, so not stressed anymore about the draft order, just picking them and thinking about how I wanted to finish out the draft. So for round 10, I picked up Mega Aggron. Wow, another amazing gift. Thank you, Internet. Mega Aggron for my team's second Mega is a very nice addition. It is completely different than Aerodactyl. Instead of the screaming demon that Mega Aero is, you have the absolute slowest, tankiest piece of shit on the planet. I say that with lots of love in my heart. Mega Aggron was my Mega of choice back when I played X and Y and Omega Ruby as a teenager. This guy is so badass. I love Aggron. Mega Aggron, hey, look at that. Another 100 on the percentile chart. So with this guy, I now have the most physically bulky mon, the most specially bulky mon, and the fastest mon in the format. I think part of having a good draft team is having a team of extremes. I think Jordan laid out that line of thinking first, and I think it's very relevant. But yeah, having a team of extremes is a great thing to have. So being able to pivot between Mega Aggron and Goodra is basically just the unstoppable core. with just insane amounts of bulk on both sides of the spectrum, and Goodra can heal them both up with Life Dew, so that's pretty cool. But Mega Aggron isn't just a big fat dumb wall that doesn't do anything. Thanks to Generation 8, you have Body Press, which you can actually use for the first time in a legit game. Not just the fake format we know and love, Natdex. But you can actually use base 230 defense Body Press, which without any investment is already 250 defense points, which is just crazy. That's like, I'm pretty sure that's stronger than what am I trying to say here? That is more defense than a stab steel move is off this guy's attack. So really, this guy has a secret secondary fighting type, which is pretty based. Mega Aggron, just beyond its classic body press stuff, has a gigantic move pool, so it has lots of coverage options if you want to run it that way. And 140 base attack is pretty sick. It's in the 92%, 92nd percentile, which is very high. So Mega Aggron can do more than just be an Iron Defense body press guy, even though he is the best at doing that. So, yeah, Mega Aggron, very epic. We love to see him on the team. For the last pick, I knew I needed my grass. I needed just a little bit more of ground resist, and you know what? Another ghost weakness can't hurt. Let's just add a fourth one to the team. For my final mon of this draft, I went with Trevenant, who is kind of a VBL all-star, if you ask me. I don't know if it's ever won any championships, but I feel like this is one of the mons that's always consistently undervalued in Draft League. It has a very useful move pool, ability, combination. Typing is great. It just has so many options available to it, and it has the stats to get the job done each week. It can do powerful offensive stuff. You can be a Trick Room setter with Frisk to kind of know what you got to look out for, and to figure out what you need to fake out to ensure your Trick Room goes off. But Trevenant's just great. I mean, if you want to be annoying and stick around forever, you can do Harvest, Citrus Berry, and if you have a guy to set the sun, might as well do that too. You can use Sun with that. I'm falling asleep here, guys. I gotta be honest. I don't have much else to say. Trevenant was my last pick. It's a great mon. I love what it does. It was one of my brother's favorites growing up, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that is the squad. I think overall, I'm very happy with how it turned out. I only missed on a couple types there, electric and ice. Electric, there's really no good electric types in this format, so I wasn't really too upset about that, and I have plenty of ways to deal with waters and flyings. And no ice is no problem. That's a pretty optional type. TB perfectly H. So that is the Phoenix Suns for Season 19. Got the first week coming up here in a little over a week. We've got the content week going on. We'll have the Olds review hopefully recorded, I think tomorrow night. No, today's Tuesday. Old review probably in 2 nights from now, I think. But yeah, that's the team. Looking forward to using it. Maybe I'll be able to get back to recording and uploading battles, but who knows? Life is very busy these days. We will see. So yeah, that's that. I will see you all later.